All right, WRL group members, this is a last video as the doodle poll is sent out. It'll be sent out within a minute or two of this video. And I just thought there's about 35 to 40 people who are interested. So we're probably going to hopefully have two groups. And I thought I'd send out a video because maybe not all of you are like 100% on doing this. Again, we're beginning of October, 1 hour a week for 6 weeks. It's free. Nonetheless, I thought this would be just a little last motivation to actually sign that doodle poll, to fill in the times when you'll be available, and then to be part of the group. So this is just a story from today. My mother and I, we go on walks around the neighborhood. She's 84 and it's good for her to exercise every day. So we go on walks, and I said to her as we were walking, so did you read about the penguins in the news? And she immediately knew what I was talking about, that about 10,000 baby hatchling penguins apparently died recently because the sea ice in Antarctica, which is where they're born and where they hatch and where they grow until they're able to be independent, just collapsed very suddenly, due of course to the warming water, mostly due of course to climate change, mostly. And she said, yeah, I did. I read about it, but it was just too sad, so I turned it off. And we continued walking in silence for a minute, probably just kind of pondering. And then she turned to me and she said, oh, that's what your group's going to be about. It's going to be about beginning to practice turning toward these collapse-oriented situations that make us so sad, or make us so helpless or overwhelmed or depressed or numbed out or whatever. And I was like, yeah, that's what this group is going to be about. And yeah, apparently this is the first time that this has happened in Antarctica, that the sea ice, which has been very dependably frozen for a certain amount of time, so these baby penguins could dependably grow and come of age, so to speak. And now these sorts of literal collapses are beginning to happen with more frequency. And probably most of the folks on our list understand this, or at least have a strong suspicion of this, no matter how they connect to it through data or through just a sense of the off-kilter rhythm in which we're living in the world these days, most humans, or whatever it is. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be gathering and practicing. We're going to be practicing turning toward, as I said, these events and these processes and these things we read about and hear about and maybe are starting to be directly affected by every day and every week. And at least in the near and medium term, there's almost no possibility that they're going to slow down. There's too much momentum in the system. And so we're alive now. And how do we begin, instead of turning away, which is an incredibly understandable response, how can we begin to gather together? Because I think it requires gathering together where we can support each other and feed off each other's energy and become a bit of a tribe, even if we stick with it long enough, supporting each other. And lastly, and I've said this before, for me at least, in my heart, the main reason I would show up for this practice, whatever it's going to be, and we'll see what it's going to be. It's going to be hopefully easy and fun and repeatable, and also something we can build up to over the weeks. Again, like building our muscle memory. Is that tomorrow, or in 5 years, or in 10 years, or even in 15 or 20 years, as these collapse-oriented phenomenon accelerate into the near and probably at least medium future. And there are folks out there, and maybe animals if you want to include them as well, who are caught up in the uncertainty of it, and maybe the panic of it, and the fear of it, and even the continued denial of it, probably in parts of our culture. And maybe they're sort of looking around without knowing what they're looking for, and they see you who have practiced turning in with support in a culture that supports naming and being with what's happening, no matter what it is. That they see you and they think, wow, there's something different about this person. Maybe I can approach this person. And maybe they do approach you. And maybe they even ask you, you seem different. What is it? How are you able to sort of seem so calm and relaxed and grounded with everything that's going on? Maybe they literally ask you this in 5 or 10 years. And maybe you think for a second and you say something like, I've been practicing. And I have a place that if you want to practice, you can come and practice with us. And that's it. That's the primary motivation. So you're welcome to join us. Please do sign the doodle poll. Once we get a time, or I'm hoping 2 different days and times, I'll be able to start inviting a few more people because we'll have a really specific time for them to meet. Okay, video's getting long. I'm going to cut it out now. Sign the doodle poll, all available times, and I will get back to you as soon as possible with the actual days and times, the first or second week in October that will begin.